Looking for a new phone to buy? Well, we've got you covered. Plus and I get together in the first special episode of the year to talk about the best phones you can buy in 2025 right now. This includes everything from budget phones all up until the big and pricey flagships. So, if you want a deep dive into how we chose this list and which phones make sense for us, well, this is it. So let's get started. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to maybe the first in-person podcast we've done it has been days, right? It has been years, actually, not days. But hope you guys are happy being here. So today's episode is going to be a little different. It's actually, let's call it our second special episode. I think we only did one. This one's going to be about best smartphones you can buy. It's the beginning of 2025. Some people see that as a good time to buy new phones, which is great. So, beginning of the year, great time to pick up phones, right? For some of you, this might be the best time to actually try and pick up a new smartphone. And that's exactly why we're doing this. So, our best phones of the year list is technically different from a best phones to buy list is very different from a best phones of the year list because that's usually just ranking what's come out that year and seeing where it stacks up. While this is going to be this year stuff from 2024, which will make up most of the list to be fair because we're very early in the year. Even stuff from 2023 because some things are still very good value and still a very good buy regardless of the age.
Focusing on getting value for your money.
Exactly. In fact, let me properly introduce my co-host here. Mr. Bliss, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm happy my phone is getting One UI 7. I'm actually excited because when I got One UI 6, the news was going to be the last update. And I was actually looking into what phone I was going to buy next just for that.
Well, I still have to buy another phone because I
broke
my screen and it's been terrible and it's getting worse each day. So
if all goes well, I think I'm looking at another year with my phone.
Another year?
Yeah.
Okay. For the record, he is using an S21 Ultra, still a big phone.
Yeah.
If you got a 22, you might not need to upgrade. If you want to upgrade to another Samsung phone, you might not need to upgrade. To be honest. In fact, that's part of the whole theme of this whole thing. Everything is this. Well, okay, not the same, but Samsung is not doing a good job. In fact, okay, let's go into this because we understand that it's a very subjective yet important topic.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think it's subjective these days because almost everyone agrees that there's nothing new to the Samsung ever since S23 maybe.
The 2, pretty much. The 2 was it, then the 3 peaked. Like the 3 was like
the 3 was like
a perfected version of the 2.
Yeah. And then 24, that's where they start going down. They take away the 10X, telephone. Actually, that's the only big thing they changed, except for Galaxy AI.
We're getting lost in the weeds, so let's try and structure this, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So to just keep you guys up to date, we have a list of. I'm actually trying to look through how many phones we have here, and I'm realizing I didn't put any numbering labels on them because I'm me and I make dumb choices like that. But either way, where is this? Really, I genuinely do not understand where I put this list. Okay, no. Also, no. Okay, here we go. So we have a list of 1, 2, 3. I would say about 16 phones. And of all those 16, we're going to be very honest with you. Unless you definitely want to buy the latest and greatest, some of the phones from last year's list are still fine. Like genuinely a lot of the phones.
Fine, they're perfect.
They're good phones, yeah. They're good phones. At the same time, there have been a lot of disappointments from the companies that you expect to give you phones. Your Apple, your Samsung, your, what is this? Oh, no, Google's done a little better with the Pixel 9s, but yeah, it's
Because they were far behind. So now
well,
they're
yes
catching
and
up.
both.
So it's
It
working.
depends. They were far behind in some aspects. They were far ahead in other aspects, and now it kind of just came together finally for once.
With the 9 phones.
Yeah, so it's been something along those lines. But that has the good part is that's if you really pay attention to phones which are big in the US. And that makes sense. The US market tends to set the pace for a lot of other markets around the world. But if you're someone who cares about just smartphones in general, here's the truth. If you're looking for stuff that's coming from the likes of Oppo, stuff that's coming from the likes of Vivo, surprisingly, stuff that's coming from Xiaomi and so on, they're amazing phones out there. Even Huawei made one of the best phones of the year last year. So let's finally get into it. So we're not going to talk about every phone in depth, though you can already tell we are not feeling that great about Samsung.
Yeah.
But
I'm still a huge fan still.
yeah, you can be a huge fan, but you can't
But
when they're not making any effort.
True.
Dude, I'm in a similar boat. I would like Samsung to make great phones. We wrote an article of like, dude, guys, please just be fun again. And well, clearly they're not listening to anyone. I mean, they probably wouldn't listen to us, but they're not listening to anyone at all. Okay, let's go into it. We're going to start with an honorable mentions section, then go through the flagships, then a bit of budget phones and some specialist phones, and that'll pretty much be it. But just so we start with the honorable mentions section here, and this is to show just what we feel. Right at the top of our list, you guys are going to be reading the article soon, but right at the top of our list as we talk about is the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Yes, Samsung's newest, latest, supposed to be greatest phone is an honorable mention because the honest truth is, unless you really have to have the newest Samsung phone, you don't have to buy this thing. Like you don't.
No, you don't really.
We were talking about the S22, fine, maybe the 22 is a bit old, but if you have an S23 Ultra, or definitely an S24 Ultra, that goes without saying.
You don't need to upgrade.
You don't need to buy this phone because it does nothing new for this form factor. It does nothing new for the Galaxy Ultra range. It actually kind of disappoints the Galaxy Ultra range because once upon a time, a line of phones that kind of meant that you have everything now means that actually you have a few features taken away. This started with the S23, the S24 Ultra removing the 10x telephoto camera you're talking about. Then the S25 Ultra decided, well, you know what? Let's remove some Bluetooth from the S Pen. At this point, we're just waiting for the pin to be removed again because Samsung basically did the same thing that they did with your phone, right? With the 21, which is
leave out the pin.
Yeah, they left out the pin that people want, and then they sold that separately. And now there's also a separate, what is this? A separate Bluetooth version of the S Pen, and it's like
version of the pen.
Yeah, they're selling that.
People want it.
At first, it was third parties who were selling it, but I'm guessing Samsung was like, well, we can't let other people have our money, so now it's there as well. Which I don't know how to say it without feeling insulting, but all I can say is it kills the point of what this phone was. The whole point of if you bought an S Ultra phone was no expense spared. Everything that Samsung has, they've thrown into this phone. And I get it. I'm not gonna be like they have to have what is this? The same thing that Vivo or Oppo are doing exactly. But like once upon a time, OnePlus was known to be the company that would put a lot of power and a lot of performance in a phone and then leave out some extra stuff because they're trying to appeal to like geeks who want power and like, hey, you have a lot of power, but we're skipping on some of the screen and some of the camera stuff, but you have a lot of power. This year, the OnePlus 13 Pro has some better screen features than the Samsung. Like, yes, Samsung still has maybe an overall better screen, but the OnePlus 13 has some really interesting PWM dimming features, which are really good for using your phone at night or using your phone at low light. Samsung doesn't have that. The OnePlus has a much better and much more limit pushing battery. Samsung doesn't have that. The OnePlus has always had faster charging. Samsung still doesn't have that.
I mean, to be honest, we'll talk about charging.
We'll go into that. But no, my point is, the phone which is supposed to be like, hey, we're saving money this way and giving you these powerful features, has more new features than the phone that's supposed to have all the features.
All the features.
So
I was just going to argue about
the charging
at some point. Yeah,
we'll get into that. We'll get into that. We're going to cover the OnePlus anyway, so we can talk about it. Right. But anyway, S25 Ultra is an honorable mention. And you know what? We didn't actually even put them on the list, but we'll say this. The regular S25 is probably worth also an honorable mention. Just because if you want 12 gigs of RAM in a Samsung phone, in a base Galaxy phone, this is the only way. The S24 doesn't have a 12 gig option, I believe. I think it's only the S24 Plus that has that. So if you have an S24 Plus, you're fine. If you don't and you want a 12 gig RAM base Samsung flagship, maybe the 25 is worth it. And look, we'll give also one more tip of the hat towards the 25 series. They start with 12 gigs of RAM and they all have Snapdragon processors now. That is useful if you're especially ordering this phone outside of the US.
If someone is using the international version of the S21, you really don't need the Exynos. It's a really
in other words, you don't want the international version, you want the US version.
You want the US version. The international versions, they heat up. They heat up very quickly.
For context, just for those who don't know, Samsung always ships two versions. Well, not always, but mostly ships two versions of the Galaxy S phones. There will be a US version that will get the best processor, which will usually be a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, and then an international version that has Samsung's own Exynos processor. Now, 90% of the time, okay, maybe not 90, let's say 70% of the time, you might not actually notice. But you will notice when it comes to the heating that Lester was talking about. You will notice also when it comes to camera performance sometimes. So
when you take too many pictures at the highest setting or you're recording video at 8K, you notice that when you're using the international version, it heats up very quickly and it will shut down the camera as a result.
Not only that, like even the quality of the pictures sometimes, an Exynos picture will have different, like slightly different colors, usually warmer colors compared to the Snapdragon version.
I mean,
which can be fixed. To be fair, it can be tuned, it can be fixed.
And sometimes it just takes very nice pictures. Especially, I noticed that it performs well, like in daylight. As soon as it gets dark, those dark pictures in the dark features, they only work on the US version, the one with the Snapdragon.
Well, it's not they only work, but they work well.
They work better. They work better with the Snapdragon version. So
But anyway, moving on from Samsung's greatest disappointment. I'm not being mean.
No, it's fair.
I'm not being mean. Okay, other honorable mentions. The OnePlus 12 Pro. The short answer, if you read our list from last year, there's still a great phone. The short answer is this: the OnePlus 13 Pro is just better. If you can get the 13, get the 13. But if you're on more of a budget, the 12 Pro is still a good phone. The Xiaomi 14T Pro is a bit more interesting. It's what I find to be. I get that if you're in the US and probably Europe, these phones are a good bargain because they're usually $500 to $650, and for them that's quote unquote budget phone territory still. So for $500 to $600, if they have the same processor as a big Galaxy phone, they have the same maybe main camera as one of those phones, they seem like they're a good bargain because they also might come with stuff like waterproofing.
Even in Zimbabwe, if you wait long enough, there'll be a good phone for you.
Yeah, but the thing is now, if you wait long enough, but we're talking about the price right now. Like, chances are if we do another one of these end of year, this phone will probably be around 400, maybe 350. And if it's around that price, yeah, cool. I would say get it.
Yeah.
But
for those interested, the
yeah,
S21 is the same price right now.
the S21 is what? It's what?
It's now like 350 and below.
That's actually crazy price.
Crazy.
It should be cheaper than that. Like, okay, I'm sorry, but
yeah.
Pixel 6 Pro, if you get a good deal on it, you can get it for like 280.
280.
And
Yeah,
that's
I'm sure
a
you
phone
can,
with a better camera.
I'm sure you can get. I mean, because you can get a new one. It will depend on the condition of the phone.
No. I'm talking about a new Pixel 6 Pro. Here, I know a guy who sells those. And these are two phones that came out the same year, same time, similar specs, similar performance, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, back to the Xiaomi. So this phone does have great cameras. It has the same Snapdragon, I think it's what, 8 Gen 3 processor that a lot of last year's flagships have. But it starts at like $600 and goes up to like, I think, $650, $700. In which the only thing it suffers from then is that flagships, especially if you're buying from outside of them, go down in price. Like, I'll give you an example. A Pixel 9 Pro right now, the regular one, not the XL one, is around $550 on Amazon. Yeah, $550. In which I would just buy that. Like even a Galaxy S24, okay, maybe not. The Galaxy S24 might be the exact same price now as the Xiaomi, in which the Xiaomi still has like a plastic back. It does not have wireless charging, I believe, if I'm not wrong. And yes, those are not the biggest features for some people, but like now it makes sense when like the Pixel is 800 and this is 600. But now when the Pixel has gone down to 600, or the Galaxy has gone down to 600, you might as well just get the phone that also has a glass back, that also has waterproofing, that also has wireless charging. So that's the only reason it's an honorable mention. The Pixel 8a, which is supposed to be the cheaper Pixel phone, suffers from a similar problem just because the normal Pixel 8 is now down to like $350 if you look again internationally on Amazon. Also, some of you are probably crying about local prices. As always with our list, we will link good local pricing that we have seen here in Zim. So don't worry, we got you. But anyway, yeah, Pixel 8a has a similar problem. The normal Pixel 8 drops down to like less than $400, which is what this sells for. No point in really buying that. Galaxy A55, its big problem is there's no real upgrade from the Galaxy A54. In which Samsung has now made this weird thing where the Galaxy A series has basically just become a Galaxy S series with a few features taken out. Like with the processor taken out. Okay, now with it's become, I don't want to say a fake S series because that's wrong. Those are good phones. The A series are good phones. But their whole job has basically been like get the Galaxy S experience for less now.
So that they can try to push you to buy the actual
S series.
Galaxy.
Apparently this is happening in like America where they're not marketing the A series as much because they know most people can just be like, oh, I'll buy this instead of the S series because it's like $400 cheaper.
My thoughts on that were, because the way I see it, it's like Samsung is not even trying to do anything with the A series. They're actually just taking A54s and shipping them as A55s with like that
slightly better processor and some talk about Galaxy AI. That's pretty much it.
And so besides that, there's nothing else.
It's But anyway, also I know some of you are gonna hate us for this because I'm just realizing we're looking at our honorable mention section and like there's 3 Galaxy phones here. It's making it seem like we didn't like a single thing Samsung did last year. Did we like anything
from Samsung? To be honest,
no.
Except for the anti-reflective screen on the S24. That's the only thing.
That's the only reason you should buy an S24 over an S23, by the way. Ultra, not the regular. The regular ones still don't have that. Like, it would have been cool if at least this year, like, they're like, oh, even the regular Galaxies now, the anti-flick
I think that
screen.
they'll get the screen next year. With
Yeah, well,
26.
they should stop with the stupid iPhone type shit. I mean, it's funny how Apple now actually at least makes sure to release one feature per year, so that they seem like they did something.
Yeah.
And like Samsung's like, Maya, you have heard of Galaxy AI? Yeah, we're doing that again. But anyway, okay. We were talking about, like, 'cause the next phone is the Z Fold 6. Yeah, there's no point in buying this phone either. There's a Korean-only version apparently called the Z Fold 6. What? I'm forgetting. It has some funny name. Let me see.
The special edition.
Yeah, special edition, exactly. It has slightly better materials with the body. It's a little thinner. I think it has better pen support. I'm not sure. Until the Z Fold basically ships with a pen, I'm not gonna really be bought and upgrade its cameras, because I feel like, to be fair, Samsung has probably pushed that form factor as far as they could, because I'm guessing what the special edition introduced, which is being thinner and better materials, is gonna come in the Z Fold 7 this year. But that's still not gonna be enough. Like, look at what Google did with the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. They really genuinely tried to now better utilize the whole folding form factor to fit all the Pixel AI stuff. And I'm not saying that's better. I'm just saying there's more original thought to put into that. And they still at least tried to upgrade the cameras a bit. They're still not great. Ironically, I think the OnePlus Open is still the foldable with the best cameras, funny enough. But hardware-wise, but you can tell that Google went in a different direction. Samsung was, again, like, oh, you like what we did last year?
We'll give it back to you this year.
Exactly. So, then final honorable mention is the Techno Phantom Fold 2. Basically, just because it's a foldable you can get for like $1,000, that's worth looking into, especially if you can get your hands on it. The bad part, the only reason why it's not here, because it does actually have some impressive features. There's no support really for it, especially if you're in Zim. And like,
no, there is now.
They fixed the fold.
They didn't fix the phone, but you can get.
No, I'm saying, can they fix the fold here in Zim?
Yeah,
I know this. Calculate now covers the fold. Oh, we might have to move that
and into. You can get your screen replaced. I know they.
No, I know they do that with like the Technos, the Itals, the whatever.
Like for the fold.
The fold comes with fold. 2 years.
No, like isn't Samsung gives you 3 or 4.
Nah, Samsung gives you 2 free replacements, and then I think there's a 2-year warranty. So even if you break it in the 2 years,
I know. Techno gives you less screen replacements than Samsung.
They might give you 1 free one, I'm guessing, which is necessary for the record with foldables. Because here's the truth: even these companies know that within the first year of using it, you're probably gonna break it.
Yeah,
it's just
because those phones are not strong.
It's just how foldables still are right now. This is why I use a Surface Duo, which is a weird device. I get it, but it's 2 glass screens. And glass screens are a proven technology. They are not going to break unless I make the phone fall down. It's just physics. Whilst these plastic semi-glass thingies, unfortunately, will break. So, but if Techno really does cover fixing the fold here, we've tried to get in touch with them about this before, especially when the first fold came out. They never gave us an answer. I will try and look into if they do that.
Because if they didn't want many people to know you can get your free screen replacements.
Okay, if that's the case, then now we kind of have an idea. Okay. But finally, let's move on, we're done. Let's go into flagships. I'm going to start with what I am considering the 2 editor's choice phones. Number 1 would be the Google. Okay, actually, before I go into that, because it kind of spoiled it, but whatever. There are, what is this? As I was saying, if you're focusing mainly on what the US is bringing, phones kind of suck right now, or rather, phones that are big in the US. But the good thing is, what is this? The phones from China are doing some crazy, amazing stuff. Oppo, Vivo, Xiaomi, those guys are literally making sure they show you why these phones are worth it. And that's partially because, for those of you who don't know, China is arguably now the world's most competitive smartphone market because what's happening in China is China has no what are called moats. Like, you know, if you try and go to a castle, like an old school castle, there's always like water or something around it. That's a moat. Literally, you can't get into the castle unless you get in through a very specific gate. And US companies are definitely getting into modes big time. Apple has the whole Apple ecosystem. Samsung is definitely trying to chase the same type of ecosystem stuff. Google isn't really big on ecosystem, but they definitely think that maybe probably, what is this? All the Pixel stuff will keep you interested in Pixel phones. And I'm going to be honest, it kind of works. I mean, I want to upgrade from my Pixel 6 right now. And as much as I've wanted to buy a Sony phone for years, I probably am not going to buy it because my normal workflow is too used to like using a lot of Pixel specific features. So that's why these companies are lazy now. However, in China, that doesn't work because the most important thing in China is WeChat.
Yeah.
There is no modes that you can make around WeChat. It's like if the whole of Zimbabwe, like, we didn't bother downloading apps. There was no need for Instagram, really. There was no need for all of these other things that we use. And then we say, oh, this phone is better, that phone is better. If it only came down to like WhatsApp being the important thing, everyone would probably use very different phones. The iPhone probably wouldn't seem as important as it does to some people just because of that, right? And in China, that's how it is. So these companies have to keep competing. Xiaomi has to make something cool each year. Huawei has to make something cool each year. Oppo, Vivo, etc. Even though these brands technically also focus on other countries, they know in their home turf they still need to do well. So, with that, there are two editor's choices. Number one is the Oppo Find X8 Pro, and number two is the Google Pixel 9 Pro. I don't know, you can give me thoughts before we go into this.
I mean, the Oppo Find X8, I actually like it, but then it brings me back to my question, like how much charging is enough? Do you really need 80 watt charge? I mean,
okay, but it's not just great because it has charging. The Oppo Find X8 Pro is
it's great.
It's great because it's what a flagship used to be. It's a phone that just has everything thrown in.
Yeah, including the charger.
Including the charger that charges at 80 watts.
Yeah, in 50 watts wireless.
You see what I mean?
Honest, I'm trying to think that I might actually be interested in one.
Of course you should be. Because, okay, look, we're looking at part of this big sheet here. 450 megapixel cameras. Like Samsung is making a big deal that it added 150 megapixel camera this year. This thing has 4. Every camera is a 50 megapixel sensor, right? All which take amazing photos, by the way. 5,910 milliamp hour battery, basically 6,000 milliamp hours. We've already talked about the charging. Comes with a minimum of, I believe, 12 gigs of RAM, goes up to 16. What else is there? The processor is what's a little different. It's a MediaTek Dimensity 94,000. 9400, 9400. Yeah. But it's been proven that, especially if you're comparing with a lot of last year's phones, it is right in line and in many ways actually better, especially when it comes to power efficiency. Yes, the new Snapdragon 8 Elite is better, like it's definitively better. That was a big jump for Qualcomm processors. I mean, it's better than what Apple has with the A18, especially in multi-core. It is better than, what is this? It is better than, well, it's definitely better than what the Pixel has. It is better than this processor, but that aside, the 8 Elite aside, everything you're gonna get in this phone is gonna be the best or some of the best in class. Oh, also has the same really awesome Quad HD PWM type of screen that the OnePlus has, which also is great to use even when there's water on top of it. Like they now have the new tech that they were talking about where
Yes, I remember.
even if your phone has water on it, it will still be able to detect the difference between what is this? Water droplets and your fingers.
And I
Enough.
know the audience is probably wondering where you're gonna use it, but I
Under the pool? Like,
no,
I'm going swimming with this phone.
not even when it's raining, because I know
Yeah,
even
when it's raining.
I would still use my phone when I'm walking in the rain. So
Okay, why do you use your phone when you're walking in the rain?
why not?
Walk to wherever you need to go to, dude.
Sometimes I walk like long distances. So when I'm walking long distances, I still want to use my phone. And I'll just use it whether it's raining or not, but then that's like a seasonal feature anyway. Or when you're going to the pool, of course.
Okay,
But
okay.
how long are you going to use your phone in the pool?
I'm gonna take an underwater video. What do you think I'm using for, man? Come on.
When you're taking a video underwater, you don't interacting with the screen that much.
You do. I've tried to take underwater videos with multiple phones. It never works because as soon as the camera goes underwater. Yeah, I've done it with this. I've done it with the LG I had before this. I've done it with.
Oh, by the way, Clint is using a Pixel 6 Pro.
I said that, dude. They heard it. I said I need to replace this.
Fine.
Anyway, Oppo's been making good phones. The Find X7 should have been one of our best camera phones of last year, but literally the problem was Oppo got a lot of bans that stopped it from shipping to Europe. I think it only shipped to India, but it basically became a China-only phone, in which like that's hard to recommend.
I mean, you can still get it for yourself if you order it.
No, but the thing is, if it's China only, it means like the software is tuned for China, even the language and so on. That's a bit too much, so that's why we didn't. The Find X6 Pro was on our 2023 best phones list as one of our best camera phones. The Find X8 Pro technically does take a slight step back camera-wise because it removes the 1-inch sensor that was within the other two phones. But then it kind of sacrificed on the camera side to become a better flagship phone, which for me is still a good deal. Like I feel like that's a worthwhile deal. But yeah, that's all good. Next, and I love how these things are diametrically opposed. The next editor's choice is the Pixel 9 Pro, which, as Bliss has pretty much described it, is Google just deciding to finally catch up in all the areas they were lacking. Like Pixels did have a reputation for being great value flagships. Like they were usually $200 less than the competition. They would make up a lot on AI features and a great camera, usually one of the best or the best, especially when it comes to taking images. That can be argued for days. And now, however, they did cut costs. They would cut costs to the quality of the screen a bit. They would cut costs with.
They gave it a name so that you don't realize that.
No, they gave it a name when they upgraded the screen. The actual display started when they actually started making the displays better.
Okay. No, I was confusing with last year's screen.
No, even last year's screen was an improvement. It just wasn't as good.
Not an industry product.
Oh wait, well, not last year's screen, 2023 screen on the Pixel 8, the Pixel 8 Pro. But this year, the screen is pretty much just as good. Finally, an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, much better build quality.
I wonder why they took so long with the ultrasonic.
Why did Samsung remove the what's it called, the Bluetooth? Cost cutting, my nigga.
No,
cost cutting.
These are different things. I can live without no Bluetooth on my S Pen, but not without the ultrasonic fingerprint.
Dude, I've been living with. I've had. I don't even know how many in the past how many years. I don't even know how many phones I've had with fingerprint sensors, including those with ultrasonic ones. And yes, I will say this: you probably notice the moment you move from the ultrasonic to the optical one. But when you're now just used to using the phone, you're probably not going to care. Like, don't get me wrong. I agree that upgrade should have been made from day one.
Way back,
Exactly. but it's not the world's craziest loss in such a way that you're like, oh my.
Considering many phones just use the side-mounted fingerprint.
Exactly. So yeah. Anyway, cameras are still pretty much the same, but they also did the 250 megapixels cameras arrangement. So there's now 50 megapixel ultra wide, 50 megapixel main. I think it's the telephoto that's still a little bumped down, but they literally are bidding on AI to fix that because of the funny, what do they call it? Zoom and enhance feature. I think like literally when you press that, it makes it does that enhance thing that we've been seeing on like TV for years, where like someone would like crop in that picture and then enhance it, and suddenly someone's face comes out. That's pretty much exactly what this thing does. But it's I think the thing that's also still giving it some good credit is it's a little more expensive, but it's still cheaper than the equivalents from Apple and Samsung. For example, you want an iPhone 16 Pro Max, that's $1,100. In the US, we're not even talking about what Zim will throw at you. You want what is this? You want a Galaxy S25, $1,200. No, $1,300. It's $1,250 in some regions. Yeah, for the Ultra. So this is still a phone that's $1,000, which is not cheap, and is known for going really low on discounts. For the record, as we speak right now on Amazon, you will find this phone for around $750. It has already gone down. So it's already gone down, but it's still arguably the everyman's flagship of flagship. Because I get it, the Oppo does a lot of extra stuff to the point where you're like, that's too much for me. But if you're looking for just a good, solid flagship, this phone doesn't. And there's no real drawback. Even, yes, fine, I'll say this, I'll admit, the Tensor processor is still not as powerful as what Snapdragon and Apple are making, but I believe it's the G3. Yeah, the G3 is it's the G4. Yes, it's the G4. The G4 is a lot better than what even the G3 was. So it's kind of, again, we will have to see what the Pixel 10 does, I guess, because this is the 10th year, right? Yeah. But as we speak right now, Google has definitely gotten to a point where it's like, it's kind of just there. Like, all of its special Google stuff, which has always been there, like, this thing has been the AI phone long before Galaxy AI existed. And now that stuff is meeting with all the hardware limitations that it used to have. And it's kind of just there. They all met right in the middle. We'll have to see if like the Pixel 10 can do better than that, or it's going to disappoint people. But right now, I think this is probably going to be our editor's choice for flagships you can get, especially if we're talking about ultra phones, like, those super top of the line phones.
Yeah, I like it for Google that they no longer have to make a play for Google AI, because they have been pushing AI ever since they started with the Pixel phones. So now it's just they'll just talk about it as they'll just talk about it as their usual features that they've been improving over the years, and I think it's working for them.
No, I think so too. Yeah. I think they've gotten to this point where people.
And by the way, Gemini can now control your device, like Google Assistant.
No, well, Samsung demoed that at the event with the S25 and made it seem like the new feature. For the record, again, this is why we're hating this phone. All of these features are gonna go to the Pixels. They'll probably go to the Pixels first.
No, they're already
there, right? They're gonna go to the S24s. They're gonna go to the S23s. So this is what we mean when like there's no point in buying this phone. But anyway,
and don't get the wrong idea, because the S25 is still a very good phone. It's just that it's a little downgrade from what the S24 was,
which was a little downgrade from the S23.
Yeah, it's still a very good phone. It's just that phones now seem to be taking downward trajectory. They seem to be taking away
Phones in
stuff.
the US, to be exact. Again,
Yeah.
China is doing some of the craziest shit.
The US and Korea, wherever Samsung is,
Well,
they seem to be taking things from their phones instead of adding stuff.
exactly.
Like they usually do. So the fact that they released the phone this year and nobody's really excited is just a matter of there was no reason to be excited. It's still a very good phone, but it's kind of become boring at this point.
It is
I
boring.
guess it's working for them, but yeah.
I mean, look, okay, the S24 was the highest selling phone for Samsung last year,
Yeah.
which is the first time that has ever happened.
Like
It's usually an
7
A
years.
series or something
Yeah.
that'll be the highest selling phone. So I get why they're trying to double down, but like, I feel like the S24 won all these accolades in terms of sales
Yeah.
because it had built up the S Ultra series had built up such a good reputation since the 22, like the 22, the 23, and then like people had been wanting these phones for a while, and then a lot of them decided to like, okay, let's make the jump on the 24. It doesn't mean that they didn't care this whole time, right?
Yeah.
And now Samsung has taken that to mean like, oh, so we can actually keep doing less stuff and they'll buy it.
And they will still buy the phone.
Which
I
is
think
not
they're
what
now
it
trying
is.
to test the limits of where the users are going to, like, how far can they take it? How many
Exactly.
things can they remove before users start complaining and saying Samsung is not worth it anymore?
Anyway, to just now continue that, the other phones that are on the flagships list, we literally put the S23 and the S24 Ultra as one entry because the truth is, if you want a Snapdragon product, a Snapdragon processor, even yearns in, and you do not, and you still want the 10 times telephoto, get the S23. If you don't care about that and you want the anti-glare screen and a slightly newer processor, get the 24 Ultra. That's it. Moving on to other phones, another interesting situation. We put the iPhone 15 Pro, not the 16 Pro. Why? Because don't let the Apple Intelligence stuff fool you. This is still mostly the same phone. And Apple Intelligence is going to the 15 Pro anyway, so whatever.
And it's not worth it still. I still have my gripes with Apple Intelligence.
You have your gripes with every AI thing, though. We'll talk about the DeepSeek thing another day. Don't worry. Okay, let me put it this way. If you look at The Verge's review of the iPhone 16, they literally just spent the review talking about the camera.
Because it's all there is. The camera and the new camera button.
Well, not necessarily. Well, okay, yes and no. This is why I'm also frustrated at Apple. The new cameras are not necessarily better. They just got the new features first, and at least right now at the time of recording, Apple still hasn't put stuff like those photographic styles in the iPhone 15 series, though that is clearly a very software-based thing. Yes, they can talk about how the image signal processor is a little different, but trust me, as is proven, especially on Android multiple times, you can just hack the stuff to work on an older phone. That has happened multiple. I mean, there's a guy I saw who loaded Android 14 onto a Note 9, and Galaxy AI worked on that thing. Like,
it's just a matter of them not wanting us to get it.
Exactly. That's why these features end up coming back later eventually. So if you have an iPhone 15 Pro, or you're thinking of buying between the 15 Pro and the 16 Pro, you can get a 15 Pro. That's probably going to be fine. However, the iPhone 16 is actually a really good upgrade if we're looking at just iPhone ears, because you're getting the same RAM as the Pro. I believe everything now has 8 gigs of RAM, if I'm not wrong. You are going to be getting, what is this? Fairly improved cameras. Like the regular 16 is actually the one that's getting more improved camera sensors compared to it's getting similar ones to the Pro, to put it in simple terms. The Pro did add a 50 megapixel ultra wide. Like, this seems like the laziest move that every company can be like, hey, we have a 50 megapixel ultra wide. But anyway, that's about it. The 16 has pretty much the two same cameras as the 15 Pro from last year, I believe. There's some fusion stuff they talk about, but it's really just a camera trick, not really worth an upgrade on its own. What is this? What's left? What's next? I am now trying to think what else is new on this phone. Um, there is something else I am forgetting. Oh yeah, camera button. That's stupid. And the action button is also there. Still stupid. But point is, it's a big regular iPhone upgrade. It's not a great regular iPhone upgrade, but this is probably the biggest iPhone upgrade that regular iPhones have gotten since what? Since the 11?
Yeah, 12 maybe.
No, the 12, dude, the 12 only had a 5G. There was nothing there.
And MagSafe.
And what?
MagSafe. The 11 didn't have MagSafe.
You think MagSafe is actually that much of an upgrade?
To be honest, I've seen people use MagSafe. I've seen people find MagSafe very useful, and now I consider it a feature. And I also know people with iPhone 11s that
wish they had MagSafe.
Yeah, that wish they had MagSafe.
You know MagSafe cases exist, right?
I mean, yeah, they do exist for. I wonder why Samsung doesn't give us MagSafe.
Oh yeah, that's another thing that the S25 also didn't do. I'm sorry, I'm a shut up.
Yeah, the S25 doesn't have MagSafe as well.
Well, okay, not MagSafe, the Qi 2 thing that's similar to MagSafe, which would allow them to use MagSafe accessories, whatever.
Yeah.
Moving on. Oh yeah, the regular Pixel 9 is also here because, to be honest, I think as far as base flagships go, it's still very much, especially considering the price. Again, these things go down in price very, very often. I don't see why this isn't one of the best base flagships you can get.
Yeah.
There used to be more competition in this space. It doesn't exist anymore. Not it doesn't exist, but it's become weird, right? What is this? Oppo, not Oppo, what am I saying? Sony's Xperia 5 is too expensive. It's always like $900. There's no LG anymore. There's definitely no Huawei. Asus's Zenfone phones have been turned from being these cute, fun little phones to being basically they're ROG phones, but with less features. So they kind of suck now. So less competition. However, our last entry is the OnePlus 13 Pro, which is the last thing we're talking about. And now you can rant about battery. But before you rant about battery, this phone has the screen we've already talked about. It has the super fast charging we've already talked about. It's one of the few phones with IP69 water resistance, which look, I'm not holding a water resistance benchmark here. I'm just saying if you can add more features, like why not? And exactly. And so OnePlus, for maybe the first time in like a while, they've kind of gone above and beyond. And like at that point, you're like, if OnePlus has gone above and beyond, A, why aren't these companies doing that? But also B, like, come on, man, it's a good time to buy a OnePlus phone. Like, they've been steadily increasing and like in quality. Like the OnePlus 11 was pretty good. The OnePlus 12 was okay. I mean, it's an honorable mention here. But the 13 is pretty awesome. So yeah, that finishes it for flagships. Finally, we're gonna do a quick rundown of budget phones and then talk about foldables for like 5 minutes and try and end this because we know there's like a lot to talk about. But okay, let's talk about the budgets section. So look, again, budget phones in Zim are very different from budget phones in the US or the UK or even in places like South Africa sometimes, just because of market. So here's what we're gonna do. We try to look at this as, especially if you're in Zim, it's obvious you're gonna want a good phone for maybe less than $200, a good phone for around $150, and yeah, and that's how we thought about it. And then if you have a little more money and you can especially afford to buy from outside of Zim, you can get stuff that is maybe in the $300 range or even the $350 to $400 range, and you can go along with that. So if we're talking about locally, the Redmi Note 13 is honestly probably the best phone you can get for $200 or less. Like, solid processor, solid performance, surprisingly good cameras.
Fast charging.
Yeah, fast charging. What else? Thingy. Okay, no water resistance. What is this? Oh yeah, good storage and RAM configurations. Like
Headphone jack.
Yeah, headphone jack. Because some of us still love that.
Yeah.
Especially at like low prices. this phone is great. Like the Note 13 is great. There's the Note 13 Pro, but that tends to go for like up to $300, so we're not really considering it. The Note 14 is also in a similar place where right now it's like at $300. Maybe by the time halfway through this year, we'll be saying a different story.
Yeah.
But right now, Note 13 is your best guess. And if you're on that same note, if you want something for around 120 to 140, the Note 12 is still a great phone. Like there's no reason to forget that one. Also, that is a great phone, great performance, good for the price point, $120. Genuinely, if you want to buy your kid a phone and it's a good phone that they're not going to be asking for a replacement within a year, this is a good phone. Also, sort of in a similar space, Samsung's Galaxy A15 isn't a bad phone. I'm not going to hate.
It's not a bad phone.
It is a really good phone, actually, for the price. The A15, and yes, someone would probably try and be like, oh, what about the A14? Here's the thing. These things are often sold within like $10 difference of each other. So just get the A15. It is a solid enough phone. It is very cheap, very simple, but it does the work, and it still gets software updates, surprisingly. So still a good phone. Now that we've gotten out of that field, we can talk about phones that you will probably have to look for outside of Zim if you want good prices on them. Starting with Nothing's CMF Phone 1.
Yeah.
That phone has no business being that good or that fun for $200. Okay, we're talking about a phone where you can. Okay. When we wrote about it, we literally wrote about it as a hardware lover's dream, and that's still, it holds up. Okay, this is a phone that has removable back covers rather, that each have like a specific function that you can put for them. So you can just change the colors and change the phone's colors by removing the back and changing it. Or you can put a card holder there, you can put a wallet holder, you can put a kickstand, you can put an extra battery thing. Like there are people who have put like wireless battery chargers on the back. And people are 3D printing and making all these other things for it. And look, the 3D printing stuff is extra. Okay, we don't have that. But, well, I mean, we do have 3D printers, but I don't think we have an ecosystem of people making parts for that phone. Yeah. But it's still awesome that you have a phone that you can customize and upgrade and kind of make better the more you just play with it over time. Like, phones like that don't exist anymore. No. And Nothing decided to make one. So, and for $200, like the performance is great, the software is cool. The screen is pretty great. And $200, that is insane. On that same note, I guess we're going to talk about the Nothing Phone 2A. I'm going to be honest, I don't like it as much because I feel like its only job was to replace the Nothing Phone 1 because it performs better. And it's a phone that I don't like, but I will be honest about this. It has great specs, it has great performance, it has a really great screen. It lacks a headphone jack, bad idea, but whatever. But it's still a good phone and I can't hate it, even if it doesn't really look as nice as the Phone 1 or the Phone 2. I get it, I can accept that. It's still a dope phone. So, yeah, we can accept it. Going on to a similar note, there's the Sony Xperia 10.5. And this is kind of $350, I believe. This is kind of one of those phones where it's like, look, 10.6, not 10.5, actually, sorry. Sony Xperia 10.6. And it's pretty simple with this phone. Do you want a phone that does all the important things and does them well? This is that phone. It's got a really surprisingly good camera for its price. It has solid battery. I do not know why they removed the third camera. That sucks. But if you can find maybe a 10.5 for a little cheaper, you still get a telephoto sensor. Yeah, it's a phone that does the basics, but that does them well. Oh, another thing. I believe it's what? The CMF Phone 1 and the Nothing Phone 2A both have like 90 Hz displays. That's a pretty good bargain. That makes them perform better than the competition. So yeah. In that same note, Galaxy A54. We've kind of already talked about it in the honorable mention section. So you know to get that phone if you wanted A series. A54 comes with a 90 or hertz display as well, right?
90 hertz, yeah.
It's 90 or it's 100?
90.
It's 90, right? Yeah. 90 hertz display as well. Still a good phone. Yeah. That pretty much does it for budget phones. I know some people would wanted us to spend more time talking about it, but I always feel like when it comes to budget phones, it's a simple does it do the job question, and if the answer is yes, get the phone.
Get the phone.
Like with flagships, you have to think about all the extra ecosystem stuff. You have to think about extras like wireless charging. You have to think about, I don't know how good does it look even sometimes.
Yeah.
But with these phones, it's does it do the job? Does it do it well? Am I going to use it all the time and rely on it? Yes, then buy it. So yeah. So now we go into what we call the specialist phone section. For starters, we're gonna just go through camera phones. Like, look, if you guys don't know this, we're gonna run this back for you just a little bit. Yes, your regular Galaxy, your regular Pixel, your regular iPhone have good cameras. They have really great cameras for anyone who's not crazy about photography. But if you want to get into actual photography and you want to take pictures that look like they are out of this world, or pictures that you can't just take with anything except for a professional camera, but it happens to be a phone, that's what these phones give you. Right off the bat, first thing is definitely the Vivo X200 Pro. Now, a lot of people have talked about this. I think those of you who pay attention have seen MKBHD and the likes of Mr. Who's the Boss mention them. I'm not really, and they were mentioned in that context as like even being good flagship alternatives, and that's true. They are, but also they're just the Vivo X200 is an amazing camera phone. It is an almost unbelievable camera phone in terms of its performance. It's not surprising because, again, Chinese phones have decided to actually just take these big 1-inch Sony sensors and put them in a phone and see what happens. And the results have been amazing. Sony only did this once with what's it called? The Xperia Pro I, and then they kind of gave up. But I feel like they shouldn't have, because now maybe I have still not written this article. I was supposed to. I'm sorry. I was worried about Sony doing this, and they pretty much did it, and they lost their spot. Sony used to be the camera phone company. Like, if you want a professional feeling camera on a phone that produces professional photos, you could get a Sony phone. That's why we put the Xperia 1 Mark III in that category, and the 1 Mark IV. They used to be on our best phones of the year list for those reasons. But now they're afterthoughts, because they just have weaker cameras than what Vivo and Oppo have. Like, literally, what Vivo, what Oppo, what Xiaomi have is more powerful. And so the Vivo X200 Pro becomes one of the easiest to recommend, because literally right off the bat, if we're just looking at its camera array, remember those 450 megapixel cameras that we're talking about on the Oppo? Imagine you have those, but then you also have a fifth 1-inch main sensor that is taking literally the same kind of photos that come out of a Sony DSLR camera. There is no jokes about this. This is literally the same. I think it's a Sony ZV-E1. Yeah, ZV-E1. Sorry, watching too many Americans. Sony ZV-E1 DSLR. And yes, of course, someone is going to come here and be a camera nerd and be like, well, with the actual Sony, you can change the aperture better, and you can extend the what's it called? The lens outward, and it zooms in and out better and all that. That is true.
It does account for the lengthening of the lens.
Yeah, with its variable apertures.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I get it. Someone is going to come and be all, oh, well, you can't do this on a phone because it's a phone and so on.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. You can't do anything else on a camera. And don't get me wrong, I respect camera. I love the art of photography like that.
Yeah.
But this thing is a phone on top of all the crazy powerful stuff. And for the record, Vivo has actually, if there's an X200 normal one that doesn't have this 1-inch type sensor, there's an X200 mini that's kind of trying to take the slots that the iPhone minis of past and the Galaxy S10es used to take. Oh yeah, and the Asus Zenfos. But the X200 Pro's camera array is literally the biggest reason you should care about this thing. Yeah. And so, yeah, that goes without saying. If any phone has those 415 megapixel cameras, takes great photos of them, and then has a 5200 megapixel 1-inch camera, it's kind of a home run.
Yeah.
Except it has competition in the Xiaomi 14 Ultra that has a 1-inch type 50 megapixel sensor. To be fair, it's not 200, but it's still damn good and comes with another 4 50 megapixel sensors as well. Like literally, as far as I'm concerned, it could go either way with either of these phones. Like it depends on A, how you like to use them, B, which one works better for you. They're both great camera phones. Like we're literally at that point where it's like, okay, we just have two amazing phones, and it's now a case of like, how much of a camera geek are you, and which specific camera geek features do you want? Because for the most part, these phones are both gonna do the job. Like if you want a phone that allows you to take pictures beyond what the iPhone and the Galaxy can make, these two phones are gonna be it. But yeah, that goes past the camera phones part. So let's finally finish this off talking about foldables. Okay, we're gonna. Oh yeah, wait, no, fine. We have gaming phones technically. Asus RG9, like it's that simple.
You can't go wrong with
you can't go wrong with the ROG Phone 9. Like especially with the Snapdragon 8 Elite now, it's actually one of the phones with the best battery lives on the whole planet. Still has one of the best screens on the whole planet, and it's built for gaming.
Best cooling in and out of the phone.
Yeah, it's a gaming PC better phone. Okay, it's not a gaming PC, but this year it's also in a slightly better place because we did a video about this, talking about how these new processors, like these 8 Elite processors, have nothing to take advantage of them gaming wise. And Apple at least gets to say it has console games that run on the iPhone. Yes, they are PS4 console games, but they're there, right? That's beginning to change. Grid Legends, this is a phone that, this is a game that I actually have sold, being someone who sells games on the side. Disclosure, yes.
Advert.
That's why I said disclosure. In other words, I'm not trying to advertise my business here. Yeah. What is wrong with you, man?
It's not wrong for you to advertise your business. You just have to pay us advertising fee.
You guys can pay my advertising fee for me. Anyway, finally, Grid Legends is both on iOS and Android. It is running in pretty much only the best phones, so I don't think anything from before 2023 can run it. I believe if you have a flagship from 2023, flagship from 2024, and these new 8 Elite processors, you can run it. It is pretty much the exact same game as the PS4 and PS5 version, so that's pretty cool. So hopefully there are more games like that, and I feel like it's in Asus, and maybe if they can team up with someone like Samsung's best interest to go to more game developers and try to woo them to like, hey, if you've made at least an iPhone version of this game, can you make an Android one? But yeah, that's about it for the ROG Phone 9. It's the Phone 8, but with better battery and power. What more do you need? Literally. Okay, so that's done. And oh no, I will say this though, that funny anime vision thing at the back, that's become a better notification system than even what Nothing does with their lights, because it literally just writes stuff on the back of your phone. That's a pretty cool feature. Yeah, so it's kind of unchallenged this year. Yes, there's the red magic phones and stuff, but honestly, Asus kind of stands apart. So yeah. And we go finally into foldables. Alright, so I'm going to read all of them right now, and we'll talk about editor's choice and the other stuff. But just from the jump, we have the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, which we've already mentioned. We have the Huawei Mate XT, aka the Huawei Triple Folding phone. we have the Honor Magic V6, and we have the Motorola Razr 2024 edition. Also, not really an honorable mention, but the OnePlus Open is still there because, look, it still has the best camera for foldable. It's still a damn good phone.
It has very nice, very cool features as far as like multitasking on the inside screen.
Exactly. So it still holds up. Yes, OnePlus didn't upgrade it last year, even give it a processor bump.
I like how they're doing it, to be honest. They're not putting pressure on themselves to make another OnePlus Open so soon, when we know most companies are going to be moving to maybe 2 or 3 year release window.
Yeah, plus, let's face it, we don't want them to be Samsung.
Yeah.
So
we still want to be excited when the new one comes in, and we're still excited for this one as well. So
yeah, there's probably going to be a OnePlus Open 2 later this year, but right now, the OnePlus Open, especially considering it still is one of the cheapest foldables, like tablet-style foldables you can buy, goes without saying.
It's still competing with the best ones from
especially camera-wise. Yeah. So, hell of a good phone. But let's go into the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Look, every good thing I said about the Pixel 9 applies to this phone. It just has slightly, like, I think it's a worse telephoto camera. That's about it. Everything else is pretty much the same. And it has a lot of cool software features that are meant to like take advantage of that foldable form factor.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like, I think there's the look at me feature, like for kids if you're trying to make them take a picture. It keeps optimizing apps better than pretty much anybody else. Look, I will admit someone might be like, oh, but Samsung has these software features that Google doesn't have, and I'll take that. I'll admit to that. But I feel like you still have a more complete and less slightly janky experience on the 9 Pro Fold. Like the original Pixel Fold was good software-wise, it just had a lot of hardware issues. This phone, on the other hand, just fixed all of that, made the design better. Like by far, like even its one-handed mode is really great. So I feel like they just took everything they learned from the last phone, reinvented it, made a better phone, easy editor's choice for specifically just want a regular tablet style foldable. Honorable mention should go to the Honor Magic Magic V6. Yes, a lot of people talk about how thin it is, but I also feel like it does feel like one of the more underrated tablet style foldables that's been constantly getting better each year and is almost just as great as everybody else. Like I feel it only falls apart slightly software wise, but everywhere else it is worth considering. So that goes without saying. But the other editor's choice really it's the obvious one. Come on, you can say it, Chikos. I know you know.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
You're not gonna say it?
No, I'm not gonna.
Why are you not gonna say it?
Say it yourself.
Fine, it's the Huawei Mate X2. It's a triple folding phone. Like that's all. We've talked about this phone
It's more gimmick than actual product, but yeah.
No, it's not. Here's the thing. Foldables are 50% gimmick. Like, if you don't think foldables are 50% gimmick, what makes them special is what? They fold in half. You can use them like they are basically a small tablet.
Yeah.
If you could make the small tablet bigger and thus be able to do more things, does that not make the phone better?
I mean,
and look, especially coming from, of all people, Huawei.
Yeah.
The company that supposedly was supposed to be kneecapped in 2019 and not be able to compete anymore. And it hasn't a lot of the time. But here it did like outright leapfrog whatever Samsung and everyone else have been doing. So
now everyone is rushing to bring out their own version of
their own triple folding phones. You got kicked in the nuts by the dudes in China, and they've kind of kicked in your nuts again because of DeepSeek. But again, another story. So yeah, what's not to love? Look, man, if they could perfect this thing, I would buy it. I would. It's unbuyable, by the way. This thing costs like $4,000 and is only available in China. But I would. Sorry, I would. This is exciting tech. I love exciting tech. So yeah, to bring it back to a more, and to really finish it off, to bring it back to a more practical standpoint, Motorola's Razr Plus from 2024 is the best flip phone you can get. Like, A, it has the best outer screen. B, it's made its software be optimized for both the outer and the inner screen and be able to allow you to do whatever you want with that. And it's fun. Like, there's a thing that I was saying even when we were talking about Samsung phones before, which is like, none of them are fun anymore. This phone is fun. Like, Samsung makes a flip phone as well, and yet, for whatever reason, they prefer to keep the screen smaller. They keep it limited for whatever reason. They act like they've hit their ceiling with the Z Flip line, and it's like, these are flip phones. Even back when we were in like mid 2000s, and there were all these different mid 2000s flip phones. What kept them interesting was like they kept changing and they kept getting like different each year because you had to differentiate. There wasn't a big ecosystem or whatever like nowadays, right? Yeah. Motorola's flip phone had to be different from Nokia's, it had to be different from Samsung's, it had to be. And Motorola at least seems to still understand that same spirit. Well, Samsung is like, well, I don't know, they're like, we created the category, so we're not going to do it. In which they didn't even create it. Motorola had the first racer before. They had the Z Flip 1. Yeah, but you want a flip phone? There's one of the phones I wrote a review for, I think, in last year, and I still stand by pretty much everything I said there. Yeah, this is the phone for you. But I don't know, you got any more thoughts, Blessed, before we round this thing off?
No, I don't. Just think about how much charging you need.
What is with you and this charging thing?
No, I think Samsung hit the jackpot with 45 watts of charging. I think that's...
Yeah, but they hit 45 watts with was that the S22, I believe? The 22 or the 23?
The 22.
Exactly.
Yeah, well...
I'm Korean and we're still doing 45 watts.
But look at what Apple is doing. Apple is like, what? They have 45, I think they have 45 from the 16 now.
Exactly.
Everyone else is like 30, 35. Which, to be honest, I understand.
Everyone else, Google has 50 watt charging, dude.
No, everyone else is good. But then iPhone and Samsung seem to...
Yeah, they were the ones who were lagging behind. Yeah. You see why we hate these companies now?
Like, I'm sure there's like a sweet spot where it's... I mean, did they prove that it's healthy for your battery, or that's still a question?
Look, I don't think everyone needs 80 watt charging.
Yeah.
I just think it's crazy that
you can achieve it in the first place.
No, I think it's crazy that it can be achieved and not enough people are competing on it, because it's only through the competing that these companies get better. Yeah, let's face it. Like, I mean,
eventually we're gonna have like upwards of 65 watts on almost every phone.
Hopefully, but we definitely won't do it on a Samsung or an Apple phone anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll give them like 3 years. They'll catch up.
They hopefully will catch up.
Yeah.
But anyway, that has been our list. And yeah, look, guys, we hope what you learned here is amazing. We hope what you learned here helps you out. Yeah. As we said, a lot of last year's phones from last year's list are still good picks. Like, there's a reason why there's the S23 and the S24 on this list. There's the iPhone 15 on this list. There's the Galaxy A54 on this list. It means that, like, some phones just aren't getting better, but the ones that are worth looking into. Otherwise, we'll just say, look at last year's list. That's enough. But yeah, we hope you pick up enough of that to, like, help you in, like, buying a phone. And look, the world is big. There are other phones we might not have thought of. So if you know of any, hit us up on our socials, hit us up on the site, leave it in the comments. We're more than willing to hear you. By the time this comes out, the article should be out, so you can really read and compare specs. We'll probably put some reviews there as well. So that'll be it. Blessed, any closing thoughts before we close this out?
No, I'm good.
He's good. He just cares about charging, apparently. But thank you for everybody who took the time to listen to this. Hope you guys get a great phone this year, or whenever you do decide to get a phone. But that's been it from us. You guys have a good one.
All right, take care.